Go ahead.
Let's open order, shut up.
Thank you, Andy.
Excellent job.
That's a,
So, what I did is I put together a year in review, and it was in your council packets. And I have to say, as I was putting this together, I didn't realize how much went on this year, and it was a lot. So, I'm just gonna start, and then as we hit key points, I think we should talk about it, questions, status of where the project is, whatever. So, we started this year with a new mayor, Cody Eager, and 2 new council members, Phyllis Schickling and Mark Slater. We wanna thank Mike Rode and Dave Whitney on all the years of service that they provided to the city of Madelia. It was their first year in the new government center. In June, the city of Madelia received the news that they will receive an allocation of $12.8 million for a full reconstruct of Center Street. This was a journey, but we accomplished it. The city should be very proud of this accomplishment and what it means for the future. So we'll just kind of stop on that. Right now, we're in the design phase, and on the agenda tonight, we also have a resolution. I'm getting all the contracts in order right now for all the funding to come in. Now the funding has to come to the county, and then it's funded to us. And so right now we're getting all the joint power agreements and all of that established, so I can start submitting requests to Daryl at the county for him to request it from the state. And then just a big cycle.
is Adam looking at a spring bid?
I would love to see a spring bid, but we do have a few things on our plate right now, and so the one thing that we're trying to accomplish is right now is the right-of-way acquisition on a few places, and I think I brought it up to a couple of you guys, but I haven't really said it out here. What happened is in 1962, the council approved right-of-way acquisition on a few spots, but the mayor or the attorney didn't follow through and actually do all the paperwork and actually record it at the recorder's office. But I do have all the minutes from 1962 that actually state that it was approved, and the property owners were there at the meeting and they all agreed upon it and everything. So now, how many years later, and Kathy, you can totally know what I'm talking about in regards to what happened 40 years ago. I mean, things just weren't
40?
followed.
That's 60 years ago.
60 years ago, my goodness. Just things weren't followed through, and so we're just doing cleanup on aisle 7, you know.
But are all those new owners have been contacted or not yet?
Not yet. We're still doing the title research, or the title search on everything, and just making sure, because obviously property has changed hands and everything. But what's really strange about it is if you go on Beacon, you actually can see that it's supposed to be there, but the other lines are right there. And then we went back to look at these property owners have paid any taxes on the square footage of this right away, and they haven't. So it was like they almost knew that it was supposed to be, but the
Just
steps
wasn't
weren't all
recorded.
done, so.
And this was the widening of Main Street, right?
This would be, no, it was the widening of the road of Center Street,
Oh, okay.
Center
Yeah.
north or?
Center North.
Okay.
And then there is a little bit on Center South, and that gets kinda weird. It's where you come down to go into Old Highway 60, where it kinda turns a little bit. It's kinda kittywampus right there too, so we gotta clean up a few things on that section also. But, soil borings were done, and that was kinda interesting, the amount of cement that actually currently is in that roadway. And actually that's a bonus, because what they'll do is when they do the reconstruct,
They
they'll
put
take
that
it,
back.
they'll crush it, and they'll put it back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cement in that roadway already, and I asked a little bit, bituminous pavement over the top, and they're like, no, it's seal coat. So it's not like an actual,
Asphalt.
paving. They just went over it with seal coat many, many, many times over
So
it.
there's no bituminous at all?
There is bituminous in some areas and cement in other areas with seal coat on top of it. It's quite interesting, but
So what's gonna be put back down then? Is it gonna be?
they'll take all the cement out and
And
they'll
then
crush
put-
it and put it back.
But then are they putting top layer of cement or the
No, it'll be
asphalt?
bituminous.
It'll be bituminous, but there'll be in cement in areas.
Okay.
Yep. So,
And probably just the intersection of Main and Center, correct?
it all depends on,
For weight wise?
Yeah, that's okay, thank you, that's the question I
like
was gonna
what
ask.
was that?
What would drive the cement?
The tonnage of, or the weight bearing of
So my guess is
some
down
of the
by 20
semis.
downs.
Around, yeah, it wouldn't be a full cement thing.
Yeah,
And-
no.
And Jim brought up valid points the last council meeting in regards to what impact, you know, those heavy rigs have on those cement, or on those roads. If we can pull those semis off of those, I mean, that saves a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Put them more onto the county roads or the roads that are actually made for a tonnage road, so. So yeah, but all the trips to the cities, all the conversations we had with all the politicians and everything, you guys are amazing, you did it.
You did it. You and.
We all did it,
Yes.
you were
You and Mr.
behind me,
Christensen down
I
there.
just
Thank
talk
you.
a lot.
Well, no, you put it together for us.
Yeah, but
Don't
you
I
guys
don't
were
know what
behind,
we
I
done.
couldn't have done it if nobody was behind me, I mean,
I know, but still that you were there for us, and same way with Brent, thank you so much for speaking for all of us.
The gift of gab.
Glenn.
Yes,
Sorry.
but she has a valid point though. Brent did kinda start this.
Yeah, Brent started.
Like,
That-
bringing Julie Rosen in,
Yes.
and getting, I mean, he did start that, so I think we need to mention
Yep,
that.
and actually Jim was sitting there at that very first meeting and you thought, no way is this ever gonna go through.
I asked you, we were ready to adjourn, remember?
And
I said, I was
I'm like,
moonlighting.
oh, by the way, I do
By
have
the way, how did
something.
Morgan get all their streets? And then she got on the phone and started,
Yeah,
he followed through.
we got it though, so
Very good job.
everything was lined up the right place, so,
Can I ask one other thing before you go on? I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, go ahead.
How come nobody said welcome Mayor Christensen when Cody come in so late?
Cause I at least told Chris I was gonna do it.
I thought it was appropriate. Sorry.
Wow, it's gonna be one of those nights.
Oh, shut up.
So,
Alright.
it
Oh,
possibly
already
could
called
be
the
a
wrong
summer
name, so there you go.
construction.
I would love to see a shovel in the ground this year. That would, but I just don't wanna get everybody's
And
hopes up.
preliminary talks with Adams, you thinking it's gonna be a two-season job?
I think he kinda
Yeah.
said that was gonna take,
It
that was gonna
pretty
be
much
whoever
is
the
a two-
contractor.
Yeah.
Is everything done with like the railroad and getting underneath there yet, or is
No,
that
we
one
have a
bigger?
lot more to do, that's why I don't wanna say anything and then we get held up in other areas. Until I have a definite preliminary plan ready to go for final, then I'll tell you when.
Yeah.
But I think that also encapsulates the fact that this is gonna be a big
Oh,
project.
yeah.
This is a big project.
This is
Yep.
probably the biggest one we've done in 100 years.
Well, probably since Main Street.
Main
Yeah,
Street,
yeah.
in the 80s, right?
That was
I
before
heard
that.
90? Okay, any other questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, downtown redevelopment, I just said, wow. I'll be honest, this is more than what I ever imagined, I don't know how the council feels about it. I knew it was going to be a big project, but what an investment for our downtown. Look forward to 2024 when everything is operational. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Have you had any conversations with, I get a lot of questions about what's actually going there and what's it gonna look like? Are they gonna get to a point where they're gonna make some press releases and stuff about what's coming?
Well, I have had, a couple conversations with the restaurant that'll be coming in. I've sent them all of the paperwork in regards to the liquor license and all of that. And so that one is, currently they have a restaurant in Springfield.
Yeah.
And they have like a coffee house and the barbecue, he does catering and stuff like that. He's had conversations with Lynn downtown. He will not be bringing over his coffee because he doesn't wanna step on anybody's toes, so he's more concentrated on the barbecue and the catering and then the bar. But as for the other side, I have not had conversations yet with them.
I see they were just on last week or the week before.
Okay.
Were they?
And had pictures and
Yeah.
a Facebook
That's
thing
good.
about it, so.
Okay.
So there is some stuff being released that we can
I
just
don't
keep,
think it's like formal release, I think it's
but
just.
maybe just tell people to check social media or whatever, and that's probably their best.
Can we start to market it?
Cody, do you know whose Facebook page it was on?
It was on Inspires.
Inspire's Facebook
Yeah,
page?
They
we
were
can
saying,
talk with Nick this week and see if he can.
didn't it say something about that if you wanted to book for events or something, that they were taking reservations, right?
I know that he's gotta have it done, I think April, mid-April.
April for prom.
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause I think it said something about that you could book it for,
But
events and things
I
like
thought
that.
that the first weekend, initially, wasn't it the first weekend that it was supposed to be open, there's gonna be a wedding already booked there or something like that?
I thought it was the middle of April, but it's April. You're all right. That's correct. And I mean, that's what I heard as well. My only point in that is though, is that Facebook's not an official,
No.
No.
No,
and so there's some other way to tell that story.
Yeah, and I don't know why some, the two businesses that are going in there haven't pushed it more, I guess. Especially Six East, I guess I don't know what the reasoning is behind that.
but yeah, I just sent off everything to him. He did stop in probably at the beginning of December and, yeah, put a packet together for the liquor license and Celia met with him also, so.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we could have Celia mention too, is, there's people asking, so if you wanted to get some sort of formal press release as to what's coming and what people can look forward to.
Cody, can you help me with that? And
Yeah,
just
we
talking to
can
Nick?
talk tomorrow and meet,
Okay.
is Celia here tomorrow?
No, Celia's actually off this whole week.
Oh,
but-
yeah, we can talk tomorrow and see if we can get the business owners to.
And not that this is
And maybe the
insult.
paper wants to meet with them, I don't know what their plan is, their timeline, or what they wanna do.
We can also have an article done on the Mark page.
Yep,
We just need the information that you guys get when you talk to them. Just let us know and we can have that written up.
okay. Alright, street department, replacing equipment with the capital fund, finally, as we start showing what we're putting away is actually making a difference. So we did the Kubota skid loader today, and then also 2 used plow trucks, and rotated the other ones out, so. That was the whole purpose of putting that capital away, so we're on the right track in regards to starting to replace our equipment.
Get 2 plow trucks, and now we haven't had to use them.
And do not shave,
Yeah.
do not jinx it,
Mhm.
cause this would've been an awful lot of snow this last weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were all talking about
Over a
that.
foot, I think, foot and a half.
Mhm.
Golf course is flooded.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there's water sitting in front of,
Oh, it's
Agreed.
I'm not the kind of flooded, I think.
okay,
Yeah.
alright. There's large ponds that could
There's large
potentially be
standing
ice
water.
cream. Standing water, okay.
Okay. Alright, water, wastewater, rehab on the yellow building down by the helipad was approved. The rehab has started and the lean-to is taking shape. We were hoping it would be further along, but we do what we need to do when we can.
As far as the water, wastewater moving in there, are they thinking spring or?
Like I said, we're kind of behind schedule
What's the
and
biggest holdup, do you know?
Well, I thought we had asked to have a date.
kind of contractor situation and stuff like that.
Typical same thing with anything building right now.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. So, we're doing the best we can.
But as far as the sale of the old shop,
Is already complete.
okay,
It's
so,
complete and we're sharing, but we're getting things out and
Okay.
getting everything situated.
alright,
Yep. Approval of selling the DAF building and the land to Tony Downs for the expansion of the EQ tank for wastewater treatment for the Downs industry. So right now, that project, is just being held up in regards to the resurvey to make sure that we have enough. So that lot line, we have enough so we can back out and everything out of the yellow shed. We're just held up on that. And once we get the new survey lines, then we'll do, put that together and get that project moving.
Have you talked to the insurance, Mark and Scarpel, and had it removed, or going to have it removed?
Can't do it until it's actually
Finalized?
deeded off and transferred,
Yeah.
so. But it is on the list in regards to what's gonna happen. Approved 2023-07 records of destruction report in February. This resolution has 30 pages of documented records that were archived and purged before we moved into the new building. Estimate of 160 boxes of records were archived and purged. We owe many thanks to Daniela for coming on staff as a school to work employee and helping us accomplish this. So we did not bring over 160 boxes full of paper. We got rid of them before we moved over here, which was a huge, huge accomplishment. So, and Daniela is no longer with us. She went to work for her dad. So if you see Daniela, say thank you for your service here at the city of Madelia. She will be missed.
Is it like Laserfish or Cloud or what?
Laserfish.
It is.
So, from a certain date, went to the state, and then everything forward is scanned in and stuff, yep. And the other thing is that some people just didn't know how to throw things away too. We really don't need 5 copies of stuff. Yeah. James Rankin became full-time as of March this year. James has been part-time with the city since 2012. This is a great addition to the golf course. New policies were approved and put in place this year: the sale of city-owned property, proclamation request policy, business assistance program policy, tax abatement policy, and TIP policy. Celia Simpson from CETA was hired for the Madelia Economic Development on August 1st, 2023, great addition. Hospital houses were moved during the summer to open lots within the community. This created 3 additional residential homes in Madelia. 2 new homes were built. Madelia Mobile Village received a grant to build a storm shelter. The groundbreaking ceremony was September 27, 2023. The construction is in progress with completion to be done in spring of 2024. And I'm sure you guys have all driven by it and seen what's all going on.
That's good that that'll be done too then, because as we hit into tornado season.
I
That's
think that was your
huge.
projected goal. Peach started construction on the commercial building at the old community garden site. I think we're, actually, I'll probably get a certificate of occupancy pretty soon, so I think they're pretty much completed with that.
Back to the CETA contract, is that something that's gonna be reviewed annually or biannually, or how are we gonna look at that?
The CETA contract,
Yeah,
never really did say if we needed to review it or if we just go into the next year.
okay.
But
I know it started kind of mid-year, or August 1st or whatever. I was just wondering if that August 1st date was gonna be kind of a, a renewal type deadline.
maybe,
And
I'll
we could
look at it.
re-examine how many hours and how much.
And to be clear, that's a grant.
no.
No,
The
that's,
So it's not-
school got a grant.
Oh,
You don't-
okay, got it.
The school got a grant for their
Process
CETA
change, got it.
person. Our person is funded from the money that was allocated to that other position, that full-time assistant for us. And so we took part of that money and paid for CETA. And so that money is allocated within the budget to hold that position. But at this time, we only do the 3 days a week,
right.
so.
So maybe, you know, working up to August first or whatever, we could have some internal discussion about,
more or less,
yeah,
so.
probably more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm in radical agreement with that, because she's been a game changer here.
She, yeah, and, she fits in well. She fits in very well, so. And the amount of resources, I come up with, well, you guys come up with some crazy ideas and she's right in my office the next day going, okay, well, we can do this and this and that, so, that's awesome.
Are you saying we come up with crazy ideas?
No. So.
Some people say crazy, other people say outside the box.
Okay, outside of the box ideas
So
there.
joking aside though, she's also stepped out of what is her defined lane of operation to help in other areas. So she doesn't just say, this is my job, this is only my job. When she sees something needs to be done, she'll step outside that lane. You can't put a price on that.
No, honestly, that's one thing, she has, the greater Mankato area, this is one area that I was not well versed on at all. The greater Mankato area was supposed to be for a so many mile radius around Mankato. This organization was supposed to help all of these, well, Mendelia fits in that radius. I've never seen anything from that, and I've never attended anything, and she was already gone. She goes, I gotta go to this meeting, I gotta go here, I gotta go, I'm like, okay, I didn't even know that, so she's already way ahead of me.
Looking out for our best interest.
Yep.
Is this possibility opening up more grants and stuff like that then from that, or?
Yeah, she is actually now going into writing 2 grants, I think.
Okay.
So, and that'll take up a lot of her time in January, I know that. So we kinda discussed her workload in January.
Well, and that's, you know, part of, kind of the missing part of the economic development
Mhm,
that we've been looking for,
The
is
grant.
outside resources.
mhm.
And then the connections being made by being part of CETA or whatever, and having that ability to reach out to other people that might have a similar situation
Yeah.
or a similar solution that we're looking for, that might be somewhat tested already.
Mhm.
So I think that's, if it's already paying dividends, that's, you know, we can, by August, maybe we can tell how much value is being added, and then see if it's something where we wanna
Mhm.
allocate more resources forward.
No, I appreciate her greatly. Alright, so back to Phyllis saying it flooded, in May we flood, we declared a state of emergency in
Sorry.
May for the flooding in the park. Staff cleaned everything up and was ready to open for Memorial Weekend, and that was my fault because I was on KUIC TV because Jim didn't wanna be on, and I misquoted me and said we were gonna be open for Memorial Weekend, so yes, we got it open for Memorial Weekend.
I have a face for radio, so I didn't wanna.
So what was the total, did we ever come up with a number as to what it actually cost even in last year's flood?
This last year was about, I think I submitted about 60,000,
And it was pretty short term,
and that was a very
minimal.
minimal flood.
Right.
But that does not include like the damage that it did to Joy Avenue or the county road over there,
Right.
so. We gained another holiday this year, Juneteenth. We said goodbye to Officer Colin Meadows, but gained Officer Sean Odegaard and Officer Chris Bourbon, putting the police department at 5 officers. Sold the old street shop to Medelia Sanitation. The flood study was completed and presented to the council and the public. Floodplain ordinance was amended. The Light Plant's new substation project. Randy King, Procore, presented his building inspection business and building code adoption to the planning commission in August. It was recommended by the planning commission for Randy to present to the city council and public in a workshop. Randy presented it to the council in August. The city The city council approved adopting the building code. This was completed and will be effective January 1st, 2024. An RFP was advertised for a building inspector.
Back to the flood study,
Yeah,
are we gonna be able to leverage that at all, do you think? Or only if we look at actually doing one of the proposed, you know, as far as FEMA goes, showing the cost of what it would cost?
yeah.
The only way you'd ever really be able to leverage or actually use it though is if we actually went forward with, you know, something that they proposed.
Well, we're gonna bring them in, so that means when FEMA comes in, usually means we flood it again.
Right.
So when FEMA comes in and I have to go through, so, okay, this is another thing. So this last flood only went through the state, it was only at that level.
Right.
When it goes to the bigger one, to the federal, that is when we mitigate. That's when the flood study comes into play. That's when they come in and we all agree upon, nope, we do not want any monies for, cleanup or anything, we wanna just mitigate it to fix this, then we take it and we try to mitigate a project out of the flood study.
So I guess what I'm asking is, because we you know, went to the state, got the funding for that flood study, and now we have the actual data that says how it floods and what it would take to actually stop it from flooding.
Mm-hmm.
We can use that information and leverage that towards if we wanna rebuild the tank shelter out of the flood zone, or if we wanna move the playground equipment out of the flood zone. The next time it goes to, you know, next time we're flooded at a federal, you know, where it's a federal disaster relief type situation,
We now
Yeah.
have objective data.
we can
Yes.
use that
We can
and
use
leverage
it.
that as the
Yes.
information needed to get the funding to hopefully move those things.
Because it was very hard for me to get the money to mitigate a project without having data.
Right.
And that's where this all came from. So when I went into one of the last floods or whatever, when I got to that level and realized that I don't have anything to work with, that was the whole reasoning for going up to get this. When the DNR didn't have anything for the data to build models. When I first started as administrator, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Cody was like one of the
Yeah.
first meetings, we were down there with Seal and all of the people from the DNR, and they flat out told us they didn't have enough information to do models. So then that's when we took it to another level, and that's why I went there. But then also, when I mitigated to do a mitigation project, this, one of the last floods or whatever, I don't have any proof. I don't have any proof, why are you asking for this? You know, this will give us proof in regards to why we want to do this. It's just more leverage to put the money where it would benefit us more than paying for, you know, cleanup.
Cleanup and repair, you're actually paying to rebuild and
Fix it.
Yep.
amenities outside the flood zone or in higher levels.
Yeah, and I think,
But I was just wondering, we're not gonna be forced to adopt one of the three proposals that they sent forward. We'd be able to just use the information that they have provided, that we paid for, and.
that's a very good question. Do you feel like the public thinks that we were going to actually adopt one of those proposed things in there?
Well, I think the return on investment wasn't necessarily there, and that's kind of what I've been telling people, is I just didn't feel like there's enough return on investment for any of the, you know, any of the proposals that were given. But that doesn't mean that we're not gonna do something to make it better, you know what I mean? So, like with the Latona Park master plan, if that master plan basically gives us direction in moving all those amenities out of the, you know, southern half of Latona Park and all up closer to the northern, you know, portion of Latona Park, and kind of re-examining where everything goes and where everything fits.
But then you also have to look at, that study is more cosmetic, and this is more data-driven.
Right.
So you need them both. You need them
No,
both to go into.
But that's what I'm getting at, if we're not gonna do any berming or any, you know, raising of roadways or anything like that, because we don't feel like the return on investment's great enough. I just don't wanna be stuck to saying, well, those were your options. You know, I would hope that moving amenities, you know, up to higher ground or building them on a higher, you know,
I hope
So,
nobody.
so correct me to 100% on this though, but those are two parts of the study. One was the objective data of what the problem is. And then part two was they provided us, here are 3 courses of action you could take.
And
So
that
they're
doesn't-
not inextricably linked.
But just because they gave those options in that study, does not necessarily mean that that's the right thing. Let's just give it a couple, 5 years. We have the data here. Somebody that comes and looks outside the box could come up with a completely different design. I still need the data.
right.
It wasn't so much.
Well, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is the
Yeah.
two are not
I
tied.
totally get that, I totally get
I
that.
just don't want anybody in the public to be, their mindset to be so driven to those options that were given, when you guys all value them without you say rate of return, there isn't, if we're gonna invest all that money in there, yeah, it's still gonna flood, we're still gonna have the same problems, yeah, you're right, it doesn't make any sense.
But the part two of that is, hypothetically speaking, let's say we pull the ball fields out and put them somewhere else.
Mm-hmm,
We now have the objective data that says this is not a great place to have your ball fields.
mm-hmm,
So we now have that data. But to Andy's point, that doesn't mean that because we accept that data, we had to accept their 3 courses of action.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
but that's what I'm getting at too, even from a FEMA standpoint. They're not gonna say, if you want mitigation funds, you have to, you know,
No.
follow one of those 3 courses that you know.
I would
We
hope.
probably need Patrick to take a look at it, but that's not how I read it at all.
But the whole point of that whole study was not just only for us, it was for the DNR.
Okay.
And so that was the whole agreement when I went up to ask for the funds. It was an agreement in between the DNR and the city. Once Bolton Mink acquired the data was then delivered to the DNR for their research and stuff. It was a shared venture. So even though that Bolton Mink brought up those options, I would hope that down the road that the DNR and us all have that data, that we can explore other things.
Well, so your point on the return on investment, okay, it's gonna cost this much, and this is gonna be our return on investment. Well, we got creative and found another way to solve the problem based on the data you provided us.
Right,
So we're gonna find another way to do this and not have the same level of
Right.
expense.
and that's, I just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that those options are gonna be.
I hope so,
I'm with you. That's a
cause
good
that's
question.
where I'm looking at it.
Right, I mean,
We probably need to make sure, but that's a good point.
I would rather it not flood again, but if it does flood, then to a historical level again,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to be able to petition, you know, federal FEMA or even state FEMA for funding to potentially replace the tan shelter, potentially, you know, replace portions of the roadway or, you know, add culverts so the water gets out quicker.
But we also have to realize if we continue to build in the flood area, that is why the fabric building was built. We
Right.
have to understand that
Oh, yeah.
they recommend us not to have sides.
Right.
And so when we were going through this and looking at the possibilities of building things, we had to look at structures that, we wanted sides, we wanted it enclosed, but they have to be things that can be cleaned and everything disinfected.
Yeah, there's-
Electrical, everything has to be up to a certain level. You know, there's reasons why we built that building.
Yeah,
Well, and they also raised the elevation of where that building's built.
Mhm.
yeah, so,
And that happened after it flooded.
all right.
Cause it was too low, they did all the dirt work when it flooded, and then like, we went out there and was like, nope, bring her up another how many feet, so.
It was good practice for them.
But actually, I really like that it's up that, because I think it all flows, if any, you know, I hope the public can go out there and look how it all flows. The building is at the same level as the clubhouse, so it allows the staff and the people to go in back and forth, and there's no elevation
More
changes.
handicap accessible too,
Yes,
between the two buildings.
actually, it's more handicap accessible now that we have the sidewalk all the way from the parking lot all the way up.
Well, and the clubhouse is only flooded when we hit like the 50-year or 100-year flood.
It's only done it, that I know of once.
So,
It's gotten right up to the door, but it hasn't gone in, so. Anyways. Alright, are we cool with that? I can move
Yep.
on? Okay. Randy King, Procore, I already said that, let's see, Splash Pad Committee approached the council in August for the city to accept the donation of the splash pad after completion. The council approved the donation within a motion, development agreement, and more information to come on that, and I think everybody is aware of that. Bolton Mink were approached after a flood study was complete to develop a master plan for the Wetona Park system. The first meeting was in December. This meeting brought up the flooding and how to design the park to minimize the damage but retain the amenities. The other item that is being discussed is the pool. The pool is 50 years old. There are major infrastructure problems and need to be addressed. So that's kind of what we were just kind of talking about, and how everything is moving hand in hand. The park system tree plan is in full swing. This plan was developed 4 years ago to address the emerald ash borer and hazardous trees. Over 80 plus trees have been removed from the park. However, over 100 have been planted. The pots in front of the government center, I don't know if everybody remembers, we had the pots that lined the sidewalk out here. They were used as a nursery for some of the trees that were planted in the park. Looking at doing more trees and pots for next summer. Looking at maybe a tree program for down Main Street. But just so that everybody understands, the trees that are coming down in the park have been, there was a plan on my board. It's an aerial of the park and has all the little yellow dots. That plan has been on my board since we all approve. If one tree gets cut down, 2 get planted. I would say that's over 4 years ago that we had this plan in action. So I know people have been approaching staff and myself in regards to what's going on down there. That's really what it's about. It's being proactive with the ash borer and the hazardous trees. Within an hour, I'm not kidding you, a camper pulled out of its site and a huge tree limb fell down exactly where that camper was. It might not be ash borer, but it's a hazardous tree, and so we're just trying to be proactive and trying to clean up everything. And I think Ben and the guys have been doing an amazing job. So.
Well, and to be clear, the ash borer problem has gotten a lot worse in the last year.
But there is some very big historical trees, and I know it hurts to see, the void, but I need everybody to understand that for every tree that gets taken down, we're trying to do 2 in its place. And so if you look out at the new campground, if you look around, you'll see the smaller trees, the ones that were around the baseball fence line, that we've just replanted more trees there. I mean, you can't see them right now, but we are trying really hard to replace them.
So I think that goes back to the story we have to tell. Because even when they took some of the trees off of Main Street, because it was tearing up the sidewalks and the infrastructure, they had to do that. That was an emotional, significant issue for a lot of people, but it had to be done. There's another way to solve that problem.
Yeah. So just wanted to really emphasize on that. Final pay request was approved for the government building in November, so this project is complete. And we all cheered about that. Fabric building was built and was completed enough to host a hospital gala, golf tournament, and a wedding in September. Lighting for the sidewalk was completed in November. Thank you, Medelia Light Plant. It looks awesome. More dirt work was done on the east side. Still need to complete the doors and more cement work. Ice skating rink has been built in there, but it's almost just like a waiting pond right now. It needs to get some colder weather, but everything's holding
It's
up
fine.
in there.
It's just fine the way it is. We'll just leave it as is. Nobody's gonna miss it. We will find other activities.
Recycling building was demolished and a new shed was placed down by the compost site. Electrical and internet services were put in. Thank you to the Light Plant and Christensen Communications. light plant and how we did the funding for all of that, and Christensen Communications, we were able to purchase also a security system that will be going in, so that is on order, and so that'll be, as soon as it gets here, it'll be up and running. Online reservations for the campground went live last January 1st, which was a huge success, as we know that the campgrounds totally exceeded our projection revenue. So, marketing campaigns for the campground, golf course, and now Riverview Heights are all up and running. I hope everybody's seen the commercials or the little skits or whatever.
One of the things for online reservations at the campground, so were they live the entire time? Are 2024 reservations already being made?
Next.
2024 reservations don't go live
Till
until
the first again?
till the first. So, and that has also been put out there, that get ready for January 1st. So
Yeah.
January 1st, they'll go live for 2024.
Because that's one of the things that people, complained about when they necessarily didn't get the weekends and spots they wanted previously, as they weren't aware, or somebody,
That's pretty much all, like even
Right.
Worth County, they have their park reservations open in January, and you literally are sitting
Yeah.
at midnight refreshing.
Put down your glass of champagne, go online at 0001 on the first.
Heather said 8 AM,
Just-
8 AM.
I would
just so
change
everybody's
it.
aware.
But no, yeah, so January 1st, get online and book them. They'll all be available.
8 AM, so probably a cup of coffee, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, manage your hangover,
Unless it's
get
still
up early.
continuing tonight.
Yeah. Then book them all.
So, alright, and then, like I said, golf course has been going since, November 15th. That's been very successful in the early bird special. And now we have the Riverview Heights with the 10 lots that are, for sale. What will 2024 bring?
You forgot the new system being installed next week, or is it this week?
Tomorrow. The new AV system here. I know, going through this, I was a little overwhelmed, you guys. Did you realize that we've gone through all of this year? I mean, this is crazy. But 2024, drilling new well at the location of the old well behind the old City Hall building. And I kind of was telling Mark about this today. In the agenda tonight is us approving to advertise to go for bids to drill the well. To get the well drilled, it's gonna take at least 5 months to get the contractor here. So I don't want you guys to think as soon as you approve this bid in January 25th, they're gonna be here next week. It's gonna take at least 5 months for these people to get here. Cause that's how backed up they are.
Well, that's part of it, but the other part of it is also construction season, once the ground does eventually freeze. And great beard, but it's eventually gonna happen. And then we can't put fiber on the ground, same problem.
Yeah.
So drilling a well is not gonna be easy once the ground freezes.
So 5 months, hopefully they'll be on location, and then to drill the well will be a month process. And then once we get the well, we still need to build the well house and get that all placed, and then hopefully we can do the parking lot around it. So first priority is the well, second well house, and then the parking lot. So please, when people are saying, we don't have nowhere to park, just be patient. We're a little bit behind, on a few things, but tonight we will approve of advertisement so we can get the ball rolling on some things.
I'll only add to that, you're now starting to hit a little close to home, because I had to park in the street.
Oh, man. Don't you have 5 more steps to your walk?
Exactly.
Alright, so I went through the well house and I went through the parking lot, completing and design of the Center Street project and bidding, hopefully this year. Safe routes to school study, Celia and I need to fine tune the safe routes to school study so we can complete it and present it to you guys, so we can get ready to go for the infrastructure grant.
Can I ask a question on that? So, only because I've been hit up on this a couple times.
Yep.
So if we fix the parking between Tony Downs, or the crosswalk between the parking at Tony Downs and Tony Downs, that's part of the Safe Routes to Schools, correct?
Well, and that's kind of why we want to go back when, I don't want to say anything bad about nobody. Region 9 completed our study to a certain point, which we maybe expected a little bit more, and so that's why Celia and I are going back with Shelley from the school and kind of redoing it to emphasize on our priorities. And our priorities are basically like you're stating, in the elementary school, and we just really need to make sure that the data is there and that we have defined them the way we want to, so when we write the grant, that we haven't left anything out.
So ballpark-ish, I'm not gonna hold you to this, but ballpark, how long is that gonna take?
Well, we can't go for that grant until, so we have this whole year. And so this whole year will consist of us redoing the safe routes.
Well, so here's why I'm asking, because the county engineer said that there is a pot of money that he keeps turning back to the general fund of the county. Can we tap into that to try and tackle some of these issues one step at a time? With a understanding there's a grand strategic plan?
Do you know what that is? Because he sent me
He said
something.
$200,000.
He sent me something today, but it's a town highway, and we don't have any state highways coming through our town,
Well,
so.
the 200,000 was for, isn't that based on you guys plow, or the roads and stuff in town?
Yes.
You
It's
plow
all-
Main Street, you plow some other ones?
Yes.
So I don't think it adds up to 200 grand, maybe you could tap it.
I have to check the email, but he said there was like, there's $200,000 he keeps turning back to the general
He put,
fund
yeah, he put.
that he
some
could
general fund.
use to fix this.
Okay,
And so if there are parts of this that we go after the roads that are county roads,
Yeah,
can we start to tackle some of this without messing up the overall general plan?
number one, before we even go for the grant, we will have to invest in some engineering
But
costs.
this isn't a grant, this is money the county has right now.
yeah.
It's same goes or whatever, I'm still gonna have to invest in some engineering
Yeah.
funds, and so I need to have the plan secure before I know what I have to
Okay.
invest.
Okay.
I can't just call up Adam and just,
Isn't it 50 or 60,000 you're getting for plowing that you never used to get?
yeah.
Something like that, and then the rest of it, yeah.
So I'll check with Daryl on it, but what I'm trying to get at, Glenn, is when we went to go do this grant this year, they said, well, do you have plans done? Have you talked to your engineer? You know,
Well, and I think the engineer said the same thing. He said, this is great, but you don't have,
we
a
don't
plan.
have nothing
Yeah, yeah,
done.
yeah. Okay.
So it's not that I don't, we want to make sure that we have, public, involvement. That's one thing to get grant money. So not only if we get money from this, can we get more money from the grant, but we need public involvement. So we need to educate the public needs to be here to talk about it.
Yep, okay. There needs to be an engineering study. We need to go through that deliberate process.
Give me
I'm
this,
with it.
give
I'm
me
with
this
it.
year, I'll make sure that you guys are fully involved and aware, and the public is aware, because I know a few individuals that have approached you, Glenn, and a couple of you others, that, yeah, it's scary. I've been down that street and seen some near misses, and.
It's getting worse,
Yep,
but
and,
we gotta be methodical.
but the other day, I just volunteered to put on a yellow vest and carry a flag to go to the elementary at the school, because I know there is problem areas, and I definitely wanna highlight those within the study, and to make sure that we haven't missed out on opportunities of any grant funding. So, also for this year, the Watona Master Plan study for the park, we're looking at trying to complete that within this year, and then the splash pad construction. So those are a few of my favorite things in 2024.
Other than that, what'd you do this year?
Nothing, I just sat at my desk with my feet up.
Chris, what's been the reaction to the recycling shed where it's at? Any complaints? I've heard nothing.
We haven't heard anything.
Does the fence help? Has there been stuff blowing around? Do we need to put
I
in a
haven't
permanent
seen
fence
anything.
next
I
year?
think we need to talk to Ben. He did highlight that it's been okay, but okay, it was Christmas yesterday. I don't even know what it looks like today, so I'm not sure, but.
I didn't notice anything blowing around, but I
Okay.
didn't stop and,
I come home every day on that road and I haven't noticed anything.
I saw it did stop some styrofoam that people weren't supposed to dump there, wasn't blowing out in the golf course.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be a permanent fence there next year myself.
I kinda think so too. As much as, I mean, thank you to Peach that provided the portable fence
just
or
till
whatever,
spring.
just to see how it would go and
Yep.
everything, but I do agree with you.
Well, just the one in St. James, the one around where the St. James one is, that thing stops so much, stuff from blowing out throughout the community.
Well, I would argue that it's needed, the fence
Yes,
is needed.
I would say
So let's
it's
make it look
definitely
permanent and not,
Yeah,
I never heard, is this the permanent solution moving forward?
If we'd ever get a outshot, but who knows? You know, I think they'd like to have it on county property eventually, but that might be 5, 10 years, we don't know.
I'm wondering if it should be looked at for permanent grading and stuff and
Yeah.
make sure the drainage and everything's okay. And then, you know, probably bring in some heavier duty materials for getting trucks in and out of there. I don't know what's there, but I doubt that they did
I
any.
think it's in a good spot just because it helps Kyla out with her security cameras that she put in there to keep monitoring.
Did she put cameras in there?
In this St. James one, I
Yeah.
know they did, but there's
But then
internet
that's
ran
where
right there.
our security system will be linked, we're hoping that they'll purchase a camera or something to
Have
link
you-
to ours, and then it would be,
Have you talked to Kyla or Kelly about that?
no, I just went ahead and just ordered it, and we'll just cross that bridge. If they want one or not, it'll be available, cause we gotta put them in anyways.
But if it's gonna be semi-permanent, even if it's gonna be a 3 or 4 year fix, we should probably just verify that Ben thinks there's the right amount of gravel, the right amount of,
Yeah.
to get.
That's a
truck-
county problem.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be
It's a
county
county,
issue.
no,
But
but,
as long
but
as-
to Andy's
it's
point though,
still-
you could
it's
have the
still
expertise
his-
to say, this is what we think we
It's-
want.
I don't know
Ben-
what's there,
Ben
so-
can confer with the county on that.
There you
But
go.
it's still gonna be the
Exactly.
entrance to
We don't need
the
to be
compost
there.
site
No.
too, so I don't know
Correct.
how heavy those cardboard bins and stuff are, or is it smaller?
They don't have the wheels in
They
it,
don't
I
have
think,
the
right?
ones.
No,
No, I
just
think
the
they're
flat.
I didn't know if they're roll-offs, I
No.
don't,
No.
I haven't been
But
down.
they've done a lot of work down there as far as
What
grading.
is that, like-
Oh,
They
yeah.
did do,
but
So
the
like
county
that.
did that.
Yes.
The county came in
Yep.
and did all of the base and
Cody,
Oh,
everything.
I think it was at least 6 inches of rock.
There,
there.
there's-
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
that's a county
So,
Okay, that sums up my list of things. So the next item on the workshop is to discuss, the RFP for the building inspector. Before we go to council, if there was any questions, concerns, Randy is here, if you have any questions for Randy from Procore.
The,
So what is, oh, go ahead.
the only thing I would have is, did we kinda come up with what the fee schedule's gonna look like then, or?
No.
No,
Well, that
that's-
kind of
that's
is
the next
gonna go
step.
off my question, so if, how does the fee schedule work with you guys? Like, is
70%
there a certain
whatever we
amount
decide.
that we have to decide, like a,
No. So what we're okay, so this is what happens, Cody. We go in and I provided an example of whatever meeting. So on that example says, building permit, what is your value? Is it a new home? Is it a, change a door, change a window? We set that amount and then he gets 75% of that amount, 25%.
Up to
comes
I understand,
from us.
but if we set a fee at $10.
Right.
He's not gonna come to town for $10, or for
$7.
$7.
Correct, there's
You know what I
usually-
mean?
There's usually minimums built in. I would say that every fee schedule we work with in every other jurisdiction does not have a fee that's that low that we have any type of issue that we
And-
step in to charge a minimum. Traditionally speaking, you're talking minimums on, say, a maintenance permit of somewhere between $60 to $65, $70, and that we still work off the 75%.
Okay.
Yep, it actually does not change anything.
Did you didn't look at those examples that
Yeah.
he gave it?
Oh,
gave us?
well, I looked at his RFP.
No, he gave us examples a while ago
Right.
in regards to the
Yeah, I
different
might have,
scenarios. Yeah, they're in my
Yeah,
office.
no.
So, say right now, we charge $40, but we've been charging $40 since 2012. Our fees haven't changed.
No, and I just wanna make
Yeah.
sure of what is the minimum, you know?
Yeah. Normally, if you were to go that low, we would typically have a $40 or $45 minimum.
But what is your minimum, I mean, your minimum is,
40 or
so we know,
45.
Before you show up.
$40
I guess that's what you're asking.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, typically.
What-
What is the minimum before you show up?
It's hard to gauge that for certain without seeing the entirety of the fee schedule and what you decide to adopt.
Mhm.
Because your fee schedule for valuation-based permits could be very different than your maintenance ones. You know, one might be higher than normal and the other might be lower than normal. And we would take all of that into context before we would, you know, make a decision on that type of thing. But generally speaking, we have no minimums in any of the jurisdictions we work at now because the fee schedules are high enough that
Kevin.
we just haven't encountered that issue.
Can you run back to my office? And right below my TV on the shelf is, there's some examples in, you'll see there's piles, not the pile for this building, the other side.
Line up my truck.
What?
With
A lot of
There's
piles.
examples.
with all
I
that
just took
said,
my
I
bag
think it's gonna be best practice to try to keep it always at those minimum levels because of the fact
Well, I
that.
think one was $65 and the other one was, why do I wanna say like 58 or 59 or
There
something?
might be a couple that are 55. Yep.
Yeah.
So what we did for Chris, just to kind of give you guys a recap again, is we utilized the closest city in proximity as well as size to you, which is Lake Crystal. In servicing Lake Crystal, we helped them craft their fee schedule the last time around, and most of the minimum permit fees for, say, a water heater replacement or a roof is about $65.
And isn't that where you were telling me too, that they have like a virtual inspector or whatever thing too?
Yeah, he's got more technology than,
You're talking about remote
So I think that's a great
Yeah.
question though, Mark, because there are certain situations where they don't have to actually respond.
Yeah,
They can do it virtually, but there's most cases where they would have to respond.
yes.
Yeah, the overwhelming majority of inspections are done.
grabs the file.
We don't allow remote
A lot of piles.
circumstances, but next year we have a better platform that's coming into play actually next week. And it will allow for it in certain types of permits, but it's ones that we don't need to be as involved with, so.
Like the water heater,
Exactly.
water softener or whatever.
Exactly, yeah, furnace replacement, air conditioner, quick ice and water before they put down the shingles, or emergency type situation, we allow them that too. And we actually have a brand new system next year that would be Atlas. So there is no software for the end user to have to download it, literally just, nope, just sends them a text, they open the text, and there we are.
Which I remember.
It's actually, it took us a long time to get to that. We wanted something that wasn't cumbersome, and didn't create hurdles to people, because not everybody's tech savvy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we do have that option, we use that a lot for maintenance-based permits, we don't for
Yes.
really
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
yeah. Which is gonna be probably
Your basic.
75% of them, correct?
Usually about 60% is maintenance in small
60%?
jurisdictions, yeah, 55 to 60%. Yeah,
Okay.
depending upon the economic development that each city has, you're in that 55 to 60%.
Okay. And those maintenance stuff, that's like that, around that $55-65 range then?
Usually, yep, most jurisdictions are in that.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a few that are getting up to $68 to $70 for the upcoming year, but those are probably the highest ones that we have. And we don't, of course, set that, it's up to you as council.
Whether we wanna increase those.
Correct.
But the major difference between the two RFPs, or the two proposals that we received is, as he's explaining to you, is the percentage.
Yep.
Harry charges by the hour, so he may come over here, but it's a $45 an hour fee,
And he
Harry's-
charges that, I'm guessing, from Mankato when he's, or wherever he's.
I don't,
St.
I
Peter.
really
Peter?
don't know, but what I'm trying, yeah, we've had Harry since the fire. So Harry's come on to help with a few different things or whatever. But, in the years that we have a lot of stuff going on, the revenue that we generate off of our permits, his fee exceeds it. So,
I think this is a wiser, knowing how much you're gonna spend per year versus an unknown hourly thing.
Well,
is
the
a
difference
nice
would be the fact that right now, we're charging what is it, 40?
that's the other thing, we haven't changed our rates
Yeah.
ever
a $40
Is it
zoning
40 or is it
permit.
25?
40.
Is it 40?
$40 zoning permit, no plan review, no.
Yeah, there's
So-
nothing.
If this no matter what fee schedule is adopted, if the fee schedule is in place, more than likely it would pay, it'll definitely pay their percentage, of course, but generating enough revenue to pay Harry is gonna be a lot easier if you're charging a I don't know, even know what the percentage was for plan review, is it 5 normally?
For,
On
on a permit.
On
So
a permit
it's-
plan review for
Yep,
new construction?
typically, most cities adopt a 65% based on the permit fee for valuation for commercial and 35% for residential. Yep. Yeah, the benefit to we've worked off of both hourly and permit splits. I can tell you in my experience, almost overwhelmingly, when you run on an hourly schedule, you will run in the red.
Yeah.
And our purpose of running on a permit split is, it is the most transparent method. And when your revenue goes down, ours goes down, and never will you run in the red with us, ever. We've taken over 2 different jurisdictions in the last 24 months, both of which were running on an hourly schedule, both of which were running in the red, and they will not be anymore.
But did they have subcontracted building officials, or did they
Yes.
have?
Nope, it was contracted.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, there's no questions of padding hours or
Right.
time travel from portal to portal when you're charging. It is the most transparent method, and we think it is the best as a public or private public provider.
I also think that, like, what you were discussing with me with some of the less intrusive stuff like the maintenance and stuff like that, where you're able to send a text message out and
Yeah.
visually look at it and whatever, and sign off, it's gonna get a lot faster turnaround. Some of the contractors, I think, would be happier, because I think listening to them, that was their biggest thing is, well, how long is it gonna take for me to get this approved and be able to do this?
Yeah.
Well,
And our goals are always to exceed the project timelines. So the project timelines that you saw within the confines of the RFP, we actually beat in 2023. So typically, most turnarounds are within a day. Overwhelmingly, maintenance permits, about 60 to 75% of them are same day. The rest of them are very next day. We try to get them out that morning, typically before 8 AM. But project timelines from permits, even with those that include plan review, actually, we exceeded this year in improving timelines.
Remember, like I said, from everything I heard, everybody, the contractors all said, not being held up. And if we can make sure that we are exceeding those, I mean, that's what they want,
Yep, timelines are money to them.
so.
And to your point, we can monitor that.
And keep in mind too, with our system, and I can't speak to other vendors, but I know transparency and some of the history, of course, you guys have had here. With our system, you will be able to track everything in real time, 24/7, 365. We have a dashboard that is offered to whatever city staff wants it. We gave them viewership access right into it, and it shows the year-to-date permits, up to that day, of course. It shows how many permits are in queue, meaning how many are open, how many are closed, those that are received that haven't been processed, those that are already processed in comparison to the year-to-date ones, those that require plan review and that don't. It'll also identify those that are in hold, that you can see we're still waiting on information. If someone calls and says, hey, I'm still waiting on this permit, whomever at the city can see very quickly whether or not we're holding it based on still waiting for something from the applicant. And it also identifies some key measures in value versus non-value permits and commercial versus residential. And then aside from that, they have access directly in the permit log out of the dashboard into every single permit for that year and years prior, as well as all the file storage for each of those in each permit. So we believe in transparency wholeheartedly, and that provides quick, readable access to all that, as well as quick glance into the statistics for where the city is sitting, which is nice too for council meetings and so forth too.
Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna wrap
Get
it
a
up
motion
to go to council
Make a
meeting.
motion that we,
Oh, go ahead.
I'll second, you say it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.